Football League tonight, where amongst the flurry of goals, glaring misses and surprise results, there's news of another head coach losing his job.
Yes, Guy Luzon has been sacked by Charlton Athletic tonight after a run of results which has brought just 2 points from his last 27. Here is the official club statement, or part of it, which confirms that the Charlton board felt they had to make a change at this time. Charlton are currently third from bottom of the Sky Bet Championship.
Luzon was only appointed last January, but he leaves with immediate effect, along with his two right-hand men, Damien Matthew and David Martin. Well, the writing was on the wall after a 3-0 home defeat by Preston in midweek. So the home match against Brentford this afternoon became a must-win for Luzon. Paul Walker was there for us.
The latest instalment from the Championship. Nothing like watching from the comfort of your sofa. Morgan Fox. Ooh, sold the pass a little short. And the challenge going in from McCormack was deemed a foul. Bauer. Solid. Gathered by Tony Watt, he's done well. Spins away from Tarkowski. McKenna wanting it early. It'll drop here from Musa. Oh, McKenna let it go through his legs. Oh, the big Danish striker thought it was heading in, that's why he left it, but it was pulled off target by Musa. It's a terrific chance, this. And he flashes the shot wide. This is Watt. He's looked lively in the opening stages here. He's got Gudmundsson making a run for him. It's Gudmundsson. He's done really well. Well, he missed the game in midweek, Johan Gudmundsson. But this is what he can give you. Does well, almost lost it, but managed to get it out of his feet. Fired straight at the goalkeeper, though. Charlton are winning everything at the moment, and this is fallen nicely for Tony Watt. Oh, he's dragged it wide of the target. And this came from a simple clearance from Burton. The header's won straight through to Tony Watt. Tries to put it in the far corner. Yanaris, nice ball. Woods has crept round the back and they're queuing up in the middle here. Judge leaves it once more. It's McCormack! Ferocious try. McCormack hammers it goalwards. And it goes flying over the bar. Judge. Fancies a run here at the Charlton back line. Still going, Judge! Great save, Henderson. Jurichin behind it, McCormack too. Both of them missed it. Still with Jurichin. And blocked by Fox. But Henderson has had his palm warmed. And it's Judge here, does it all himself. Pushed away by Henderson. Judge. Another great ball in Swift! It is a terrific header. But what about the cross from Alan Judge, which was pinpoint? Look at the delivery here. Whipped in, and that's a smart header from Swift. This is Jurichin. He's got a lot of work to do here. Up against Bauer. This is McCormack running onto the ball. Oh, what a strike! How unlucky. What a hit this is from Alan McCormack. This is a pile driver. Now Brentford will break. Judge. McCormack. He's got options to his left and his right. He's found Judge. It's Alan Judge! Oh, what a goal! Is there anything he cannot do? He's got magic feet, and he has served up a beauty. It is a cracker. On his right boot, beyond a helpless Stephen Henderson. And Alan Judge, quite possibly, has sentenced Charlton to another defeat. That's Gujanachad though, and a real opportunity here. Good save from Bolton. First time he's really been called into action. Burton did well to push it away. Jackson. Goodmanson. Steered behind Guchanachad. Bidwell's clearance straight to McElhenney. And now Goodmanson! Well, we know he can hit them from range. Not quite on that occasion. Was it good enough to test the goalkeeper? Fox against Woods. Sends it over. And it's Tarkowski's header away. And look at that for a first touch from Judge. Great awareness. Curl this in towards Vibe. This is Vibe. Got to do it himself here. Vibe! All over. Kept his composure really well there. And with that, the fans are streaming out. And Guy Lewis on your field is a dead man walking. Judge curls it over the top. Vibe steadies himself. Has to do this on his own. And he drills it beyond Stephen Henderson. Those Brentford fans will have a very happy trip back across London tonight.
So another big defeat for Charlton, and within 2 hours of that, the board relieved Guy Luzon of his duties. He's the fourth Sky Bet Championship manager to go after only 13 matches. Adam Verger, the former Brighton defender, with us tonight on Football League Tonight. He knew, we knew.
Yeah.
2 out of 27 points, not good enough.
No, certainly, George, it's not good enough at all. And this week, I think, has really put the final nail in the coffin for him. It's the manner of the performance, how they lose. Preston were comfortably beaten, and both of them being home as well. So I'm not surprised that he's lost his job tonight.
Loads of Charlton fans have been tweeting us, actually, saying the problem is that their squad is too thin to deal with the injuries that they have had. Whose fault is that?
Well, I think it's a combination of the chairman and the manager. Listen, every manager in League One, League Two and the Championship will always say their squad's not good enough. You've got to go through these stages of the season where you're going to get injuries, you're going to get suspensions, and it's up to your players and your managers to deal with that. And at the moment, Charlton haven't done that. Thoughts,
therefore, turn to who might take over. There was an interested observer in the stadium today, as we're going to see. Malky Mackay, who's installed his favourite already. Yeah. He was there to watch this game.
Well, he'll probably be the obvious choice, otherwise he'd have been lost if he was there today. But I think he'd be a good manager because his time at Wigan wasn't very good. So I'm sure he'll want to rectify that. But it's a good club, Charlton, and I'm sure that he'll come in and do a good job.
Hat tip to Lee Carsley as well, who doesn't, he says, want the Brentford job, but he's in terrific form with them at the moment. Now, speaking of managers under pressure, Bolton and Neil Lennon really needed a result today. Shola Amiobi brought in to try and get some goals. Steve Evans brought in to manage Leeds United.
And it's been a busy week for Leeds, and as well as Neil Lennon, and you show where Bolton are at the moment because they brought in Shola Amiobi.
There he is.
It's a big job for Steve Evans. He'll probably feel deep down with his results with Crawley and Rotherham that he might deserve a job at this club, but for him it's about results. And they didn't get off to the best of starts, and they defended the corner really badly. And the signing that you've just brought in a couple of days gets himself with a goal. And
that was only Bolton's 10th goal in 15 league games, which I suppose is why they went to sign Amiobi.
They did, and I mean, he's not really a prolific goal scorer in himself, but he just brings that experience, and I actually thought he played pretty well today when he came on. And this was a wonderful strike by Adeyemi, and it hits the post, and I think on other days Leeds could have got the result, and in the second half they really upped the tempo, and Antonucci was the man I felt in the second half really came into his own with the runs, and they changed their formation a little bit, and that certainly suited him. This was a certain red card for Princey. Neil Lennon had no doubts about it.
And just like during the week, Leeds rescuing a draw with a penalty kick.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that Antonucci got up and just casually played it down the middle, and that really put Leeds back into the game. But I'm sure Steve Evans, I think in the second half performance, I think the quality of ball into Chris Wood, who's a big centre forward, when you're down to 10 men, he'll probably feel that the chances that they created, it was ended quite comfortable for Bolton in the end. And when they went down to 10 men, I thought they defended pretty well. And I'm sure Neil needs a change of results, but he's got a really difficult job on at the moment.
Well, let's hear from him. Here is the reaction of the two managers.
We have to start winning games, and we have to start putting teams away when we're on top. We're unfortunate today, obviously, the red card.
Are you disappointed with that? By the way?
No, I think it's a red card, and I think it's an individual error from Prince. He was playing very well up until then.
I think first half, if I'm being honest, the first 10-15 minutes, we just thought that certain players maybe looked a little bit leggy. Now, we can use that as an excuse, so we can say, well, the reality is we played on Wednesday and we get back into to Leeds at 4 o'clock in the morning, etc. But we don't want to use excuses. We recovered them and recuperated them and gave them some time.
Manager speaking after a 1-1 draw there, and we'll have more from the Championship when we return as we switch our focus to the very top of the table. Hello, welcome back to Football League tonight. We've already seen the manager lose his job this evening, and the tension continues throughout the league. We're going to continue now with one of the tastiest derbies in the Football League.
Yes, the East Lancs derby, the Cotton Mills derby, or even El Lang Clasico, if you like. Blackburn-Burnley is always a little bit lively anyway.
It certainly is, and for 35 years Blackburn reigned supreme, with Burnley unable to get a win until the last meeting 2 years ago, when the Clarets finally broke the hoodoo at Ewood Park with a memorable 2-1 win on their way to promotion to the Premier League.
Well, they rekindled the rivalry this lunchtime in what was a typically fiery encounter. Your commentary comes from Don Goodman and Bill Leslie.
Still a lot of sparring going on out there, isn't there? We're nearly 10 minutes in and lots of huff, lots of puff. No chances created as yet.
Lawrence is playing in that role off Jordan Rhodes again today, where he has impressed. That's Olsen's ball, it's Rhodes! Well, improvised so well and so close.
He's got no right to get that delivery that close to scoring a goal. This is a wonderful improvised effort outside of the boot. Look how close that is. That is a fantastic effort from a fantastic goal scorer.
Held in towards Gray. It will fall kindly for Joey Barton. Gray, Barton! Now then, he wants a penalty. He desperately wants a penalty. He's not going to get it, and I think he was tripped as he was running away there by Grant Hanley off the ball. But here's Akpan. Delfonso. Oh, Blackburn on the surge, but Arfield able to get it away to safety. And Barton guilty of conceding a foul. He wanted one at the other end. That's a pen, he says.
That is a pen. You don't have to be a professional lip reader to see what he's saying. He burst through a little gap there, and oh, it's a difficult one. Keith Stroud, you can see in the background, got a perfect view. I mean, there's a little tangle of legs. I think it would have been soft.
Well, after the initial incident, there was a bit of a skirmish after that penalty appeal between Hanley and Barton.
Oh, yeah, he makes the challenge on Joey Barton. Barton sprinting towards the referee, and oh, there you go.
Now, that's in the box. The ball's in play. Should that be a penalty?
I don't think anybody is looking in that direction, so officials really would have had to have eyes in the back of their head to spot that.
Jones. Oh, Lawrence did well. Corey Evans. Now Delfonso. Olsen on the overlap. Lawrence! Well, Heaton always getting there.
He always was, but you have a look. It's a good strike, but hands there, but look who's there. If that ball pops out, Jordan Rhodes, and that's why he scores so many goals.
Here's Barton. Neat feet, Arfield. Promise here for Burnley. Oh, and Jason Steele with his first business of the day.
Yeah, that is excellent. Pushes the ball well away from goal, and that's the impressive thing. You look when he makes the save. It's a decent effort from Arfield, but excellent goalkeeping.
Lawrence. Hoping surely that it had to go wide there for Marshall. But he'll use the other full-back, Olsen. Got the better of Derrickwa here. It's Tom Lawrence. Now down he goes. This time the appeal's at the other end. This time, again, immediately ruled out by Keith Stroud.
And who's it involving? That man there, Joey Barton. Heart must have been in his mouth. as this cross arrives at Tom Lawrence. He comes from the blind side, and it's very, very similar, isn't it? Very, very similar to the penalty that he wanted. He's not initiating it, Joey Barton.
Rhodes, Lawrence. Teed up, Jordan Rhodes! Well, he had the space to take aim, lock on target, but he couldn't succeed.
Yes, I'm not sure his first touch gets the ball out of his feet where he wants. That's why he has to have a second one. There, first touch, gets it eventually onto the right foot.
Delfonso doing well. Evans, now it's Lawrence. Only Rhodes up with him at the moment, but it's not a bad option to have. Lawrence gets it back! Oh, and he's fluffed his lines. Best chance of the game by a country mile.
Well, they've been patient, they've prompted, they've probed, and they've been waiting for this moment. Great work from Delfonso, and then Lawrence gives the ball to Rhodes. You think Rhodes might go on his own, but he's aware of the space and that Lawrence is running on, and he plays a fantastic ball back to Tom Lawrence. He doesn't have to break stride, but he tries to break the back of the net.
Awkward for Keane. Jordan Rhodes may make it more than that. Rhodes! Well, it just hasn't happened for Jordan Rhodes yet.
It's on his weaker left foot. You fancy if this is on his right, he'll bend that in the corner, but he pulls his shot into Tom Heaton.
They're certainly asking some more questions in this second period. Jones towards the head of Vokes. Corey Evans. Oh, back into trouble, it's Ben Mee. Arfield! Claret joy at Ewood Park!
Well, you wondered, was it going to be a mistake? Was it going to be a piece of brilliance? Well, the truth is, it's a little bit of both. Because there's a real poor defensive clearance in this. There's confusion in the Blackburn defence, and it's Corey Evans there, heads it back into a dangerous area. May think he's got away with it when Ben Mee swings and misses, but Ben Mee has got the presence of mind to roll the ball back to Scott Arfield, and the rest is wonderful. It's a thing of beauty.
Conway might unleash one here. Oh, and he's so unfortunate. A real rasper.
I guess you wonder whether it is going to be Blackburn's day. Time after time, there's misfortune on their side. I mean, that is a brilliant effort. Beats Tom Heaton. All ends up. And it crashes off the crossbar and out to safety.
Lawrence in there. Oh, and Heaton has to produce. And it was that man, Duffy.
Well, it's another nearly moment for Blackburn. And that's a painful sight.
I'm afraid it's been the story of our season, but anybody that's watched the game can see, you know, unfortunately today the better team's lost.
Credit to Blackburn, they caused us some trouble at times, and they had a couple of, well, certainly one golden chance, and they've hit the bar with a shot from distance. And, you know, we've been more creative in other games, but we've got the golden goal, which counts today, and we've defended very well after that.
So it's Burnley who are on the front page of the Football League paper. Great Scots derby delight. Fantastic celebration as well from Scott Arfield.
Absolutely.
Which you really like. You said there's nothing better.
Nothing better than a player that you score away from home and then you leg it down to your own fans and you've got all your teammates with you, especially when they should have lost the game as well.
Well, do you think they did? I mean, Gary Bowyer said the best team lost. Do you think that's fair, given the chances Blackburn had? Yeah, they did. I mean, this is the chance of the game from Tom Lawrence that sometimes when you have a little bit of time to think about it, but you've got to give credit to Tom Heaton as well, because he's a top goalkeeper. And sometimes you need your goalkeeper to step up and win your points. But this is a very dogged Sean Dyche performance from his side. He goes 4-4-2 away from home and... yeah, of course, Blackburn should have won today, but they didn't. Burnley dug in and Sean Dyche continues this brilliant run. Yeah, and as he went on to say later on in that interview, sometimes it just takes a moment of quality and a lot of fight from the team, which is what we saw. And Burnley are now unbeaten in 5 East Lancs derby fixtures.
Right, let's see some more football. The derby theme continues with last night's action from the New York Stadium. Rotherham and Sheffield are, less than 10 miles apart. And a win over Wednesday would really get the Millers going under new boss Neil Redfern. Commentary from Gary Weaver and Gary Birtles.
Now it's Andreu. And not the first really good cross we've seen from the right from Rotherham United tonight. There's Forestieri leading the charge for Sheffield Wednesday. He scooped it through to Barry Bannon. It's Bannon!
Well, for me, if that had gone in, that would have been one of the goals of the season, because he started it off. Look at his desire to get forward. Does brilliantly there, and then has the audacity to try and lob it over. So unlucky, just a little bit too much on it.
There's Forestieri again. There's a handball not given, and it's Forestieri, and that's Jow! Sheffield Wednesday, the big hitters from the big city over the road, take control in Rotherham.
Bannon involved again. It's a lovely little build-up, but they're in control here. Look, he dwells on it too long, gets dispossessed. Forestieri sets it up. Jow, simple goal. You've got to be there to put him in.
And to smuggle that ball through to Forestieri. Always on the move, always thinking.
So difficult to pick up when he's in full flow.
Yeah, the targets Rotherham have to try and keep at bay here. Wallace, there's a man free in the middle, and he's scrambled in for a second. Forestieri, we said he's always on the move. He pounced, and Sheffield Wednesday, in the blink of an eye, have a 2-goal advantage in this South Yorkshire derby.
Well, again, you have to say shambolic defending. Keeper's got to do better than that. Camper's got to deal with this better. The header down, he's straight towards him. It's a comedy of errors.
That's Derbyshire.
That's not a bad effort from there, you know. Slightly behind him, beyond the penalty spot. They generate the power.
Here is Forestieri. Forestieri picking out the run of Bannon.
Well, you can see, disgusted with himself. Look at the movement by Forestieri again. Bannon plays him in beautifully, keeps his composure brilliantly. Look at that for a little ball, does well, sets it up for himself, and then blasts it over the bar.
Now Toffolo. Semedo went flying in. One last chance maybe for Rotherham United to try and get themselves on the scoreboard here. Maguire, man free in the middle, and it's Tom Thorpe who pounces to Rotherham United. Is it too little, too late?
Disappointing, yeah. I mean, 15 minutes after half-time, you know, the 2 goals, we came out. We talked at half-time about coming out the traps, and you know, we did it on Tuesday night against Reading. Came out the traps, got the goal, you know, got on the front foot, you know, looked like we were going to win it, and we got the opposite today, you know, which is really disappointing.
Yeah, problems persist for Rotherham. Adam Virgo, Sheffield Wednesday under Carlos Carvalhal playing some hugely watchable football.
I've really enjoyed watching him this season. Not many people would have known about him when he came into the Championship this year, but the likes of Bannon, Ross Wallace, who I played with at Celtic, and Forestieri, he's been the key player this year. His link-up play has been brilliant, and he's got goals along the way, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with and probably make their playoffs.
Really enjoyed watching this game last night. The highlight for me, though, here we go, let's have another look at this. This was actually after the match. Who would have thought a match-worn Barry Bannon shirt would be this season's must-have accessory?
Oh, absolutely brilliant.
There you go. Kelly, that's your Christmas present sorted.
Thanks very much. I don't know how you're going to wrestle it off those 3, though. Imagine what would have happened if Barry Bannon's one of those chances had gone in. Anyway, the top scorer so far in the Sky Bet Championship isn't Barry Bannon. It's Reading's Nick Blackman with 9 goals, including this beauty from midweek against Rotherham, and that keeps the Rotherhams up with the Royals up with the front runners at the top of the table. However, Fulham owner Shad Khan would have been hoping to see Blackburn shut down by his side today. In time for the NFL, Khan's piled on the pressure by stating that he expects Fulham to finish in the playoffs this season, where they tested their mettle against Reading.
A lunchtime kickoff gave Reading the chance to steal a march on most of their promotion rivals. Thanks to Lucas Piazon, a fifth league win in 6 soon looked a very realistic possibility. And straight after the break, the Royals took a firmer hold on the points. Orlando Sarr didn't score a single goal at Craven Cottage in the year he spent as a Fulham player 4 seasons ago. Better late than never, from Reading's perspective at least. But at 2 up and seemingly cruising, Steve Clarke's side let their guard slip. The away fans' celebrations had barely subsided before Ross McCormack improvised brilliantly, keeping Fulham in the contest. The start of an astonishing turn of events as the team who'd let in just 2 goals in their last 5 league matches did the same in the space of 4 minutes. Moussa Dembele latching on to Lasse Vigen Christensen's cross. And Fulham weren't finished. With Reading suddenly all at sea, they swarmed forward again. The visiting defence carved apart with ease, Dembele freeing Alex Kaciniklic to top off the astonishing turnaround. A blip for the Royals that's cost them their place in the top 6 and comes at a bad time as they get ready to host the leaders Brighton next weekend. Dembele's 3rd goal in 4 days was teed up superbly by McCormack to round off a memorable Fulham comeback that's surely good news for Kit Simon's job prospects.
Having won their last 4 league matches, Birmingham were always likely to pose a threat at the KC Stadium, and Jacques Magoma did just that. Another aspect of their impressive recent form has been their defending. 3 clean sheets have come in their last 4 wins, but not today, as Hull were offered repeated invitations to make inroads before David Myler finally did. The visitors barely had time to digest that when they were backpedalling down the left again. Andrew Robertson, this time their tormentor-in-chief, and his cross was ruthlessly dispatched by Abel Hernandez for his 8th goal of the season. While many clubs might have sacked their manager following Premier League relegation, Hull's decision to keep Steve Bruce in place is reaping rewards, and the decision to sign Sam Clucas is also looking pretty good as well. Clucas was again involved in another chance for the home side, but even though he and Sean Maloney combined to miss the target, it didn't matter, because the job was already done.
Preston North End were the latest to have a bash at toppling Brighton. David Stockdale tested by Owen Doyle on a day when the table toppers had to do without their influential central midfield pair of Berham Kayal and Dale Stevens. The returning Jamie Murphy tried to provide a spark for the home team, forcing a save from Jordan Pickford and supplying a free kick which looked like it just needed a firm connection from Tom Ahmed. Albion rode their luck at times on Tuesday against Preston's fellow strugglers Bristol City and did themselves no favours defensively before Paul Gallagher sent Joe Garner lurking, keen to get back in the swing of things after a 3-game ban. Bruno kept Brighton's unbeaten record intact, but not a match to remember for the leaders, who lost their other fullback Gaetan Bong with what appeared to be a serious knee injury.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on his progress as well. But as far as Brighton are concerned, Adam, look, they're the only unbeaten side in all top 4 divisions in England. But there's a lot of draws in there recently. Are we creating problems if we're keeping an eye on that?
No, not really. I mean, Preston today would have been a game they lost last year. So you're seeing an improvement in the team as was alluded there. Kayal wasn't playing today, Stevens wasn't playing today, Andrew Cross come back after a long-term injury, Rowan Ince. So the squad rotation, the players who are actually coming into the team are keeping the run going. That's what you want to do. Listen, as long as it keeps going and Brighton stay at the top, I'm sure Chris will be very happy. Yeah,
they're finding different ways to approach matches. As Fulham were having to do with Shad Khan in town. They go 2-0 down against Reading and they come back to win 4-2. How much did the performance of Dembele impress you in this win?
Oh, he's been absolutely superb. And he's made that transition into the first team. He's got 5 and 8 now. And he's been a real revelation. And he's certainly got a bright future ahead of him. He's somebody with a good physique. And he's very, very powerful as well. And he'll be important for Kit Simons. But, you know, for them to reach the playoffs, it's going to be very, very difficult for them this season. You've got your Middlesbroughs, Derbys, Hulls, Brighton along the way. So I think really only that 6th place will be available for them. So as long as they're in the mix around March, I think Kit Simons will be happy.
Kit Simons might be happy, but would Shad Khan, George?
Well, we will see more games from the Championship when we return, including a look at the man who has made the most passes, the most tackles in the division and scored a beauty today. You've got 3 minutes or so to guess who on earth we're on about. See you shortly.
Hello, welcome back. us to our question. Well done. The man we were talking about is Derby's George Thorne. He's top of both the passing and the tackling charts, which is pretty much ideal.
Fairly handy.
For your central midfield player today. Today, he and Derby travel to Huddersfield. Sue Thurl, watch this one.
A season that started on slow burn for Derby is heating up. They were fastest out of the blocks as Johnny Russell inadvertently set up Chris Martin. That is 8th goal of an impressive season. But a step forward was followed by a step back as Richard Keogh's hesitation allowed first Ishmael Miller and finally Harry Bunn to hit the target for his first goal at home since February. Jed Steer in the Huddersfield goal was a man well named as Jason Shackle did his best to beat him. But the winning habit is something that Huddersfield have struggled to pick up this campaign. Only 3 victories this season suggested Derby were in with a chance, and they took it, courtesy of a belter from George Thorne. That's 8 matches unbeaten for them, and counting.
Nottingham Forest's pursuit of midfielder Liam Trotter seemed to have stalled, but they landed the Bolton man on loan just hours before Ipswich arrived. Dean Gherkin stopped him scoring before stretching himself again to make sure Jamie Ward's effort didn't creep into the corner. The home side set the pace throughout, only to fall behind with just 16 minutes remaining when Kevin Brew's cross dropped eventually to Jonathan Parr. Mick McCarthy's side on course for a first league win in 6. Forest had gone equally as long without success, denied at the death by Burnley on Tuesday. This time they supplied the final twist. George Grant's effort blocked, but there was the man who cut his footballing teeth at Ipswich, Trotter, saving the day on his debut.
MK Dons are a team short on confidence and luck, it would seem. Simon Church did his bit, but so did Rob Green. To add insult to injury, Rangers then went in front with a goal more suited to Brazilian football. J. Emmanuel Thomas with an effort that's bound to be on his video CV forever. That inspired a mini goal of the day competition amongst the QPR players. Matty Phillips throwing his hat into the ring with a super finish, although the celebration definitely needs a little work. Their third was more scrappy, Junior Hoylett ending the ping-pong in the penalty area to round off a win that will silence the grumbles at Loftus Road.
Middlesbrough hadn't scored in 3 games, so a surprise to see Stuart Downing drop to the bench at Wolves, where Dave Edwards piled on the problems for Aito Karanka midway through the first half. The Middlesbrough boss blamed Tuesday's defeat to Cardiff on his own frustrated demeanour. Diego Fabrini knew how to put a smile on the Spaniard's face. Finally, Borough's first goal of October and a boost to the energy levels for the final 20 minutes. George Friend looked full of running for his burst down the wing, ended unceremoniously by Nathan Byrne. Wolves now confronted by the prospect of a 3rd successive defeat. Grant Leadbitter put away the penalty with minimal fuss, and there was still time for Middlesbrough to finish with a flourish. Downing off the bench on the hour, and on the score sheet in the 92nd minute, the Teessiders back on track.
When this team play with this spirit, I said always that is one of the best in the division, but always we have to play with this team spirit.
Yes, vintage Stuart Downing. Here's the table then. Brighton stay 4 points clear at the top despite only drawing with Preston at the Amex Stadium. Hull moved to 2nd after that win over Birmingham, and Burnley are now 3rd on goal difference. Borough are 4th with that victory at Wolves. Derby also notched up an away win, and they're 5th. That defeat for Birmingham, well, it sees them drop from 2nd right down to 6th. At the other end of the table, Bolton stay bottom following their draw with Leeds. They are now behind Rotherham on goal difference. Charlton are 1 point better off. They continue to occupy the final relegation spot after losing at home against Brentford.
Well, joining us now is Wales international defender, formerly of Swansea, Hull, Bolton and Wolves, now at Coventry. It's Sam Ricketts. Sam, we will get to your game at Swindon in just a moment, but we've just seen the Championship table. I mean, how much, as an old boy, do you worry about where Bolton are just now?
Yeah, it's a real shame. It's, I think all players look back at their former clubs, and especially with me with Bolton, I really enjoyed 4 years then. It was a great club, great family club, and to see them at the bottom of the table is really disappointing. I think when I left, I think we missed out on the playoffs to get back into the Premier League by a goal or 2, and I'm afraid they've sort of gone downhill ever since. Sam
Allardyce has talked about the depressing atmosphere. I mean, as much as what's going on off the field. How much can that affect the club from within the dressing room?
Yeah, I think you've seen it a lot of clubs who've fallen down from the Premier League. Wolves were the same, they fell down to League One. And you really need the whole club pulling in the same direction, and that comes from the owner, obviously the fans, the board and everyone. If you get everyone pulling in the same direction, then the club can really go on and do something. At the minute, it's not the case. I think the club, they're trying to sell the club. Finances are a bit tight for that reason. Just as soon as they get that sorted, I'm sure things will pick up.
Yeah, everything seems to be difficult at the same time. It all knocks on and has a knock-on effect to each other. We're going to talk about Coventry now, but before we talk about your trip to Swindon, let's see how you got on.
Coventry last won a league game in Swindon 21 years before Joe Cole was even born. But his latest team looked well set to be celebrating in Wiltshire for once when Roman Vancelot put them in front. Especially as Coventry's young keeper Rhys Charles Cook was on his way to breaking Steve Ogrizovic's post-war club record of 572 minutes without conceding. A milestone he reached after 78 minutes, not long before Adam Al-Abd pulled back Jacob Murphy. Marcus Tugay needed 2 attempts to get the better of Lawrence Figueroa, but Tony Mowbray's men seemed certain to put back-to-back draws behind them and push on with their promotion effort, which is when it all went wrong. With a drop of the shoulder and terrific finish, Ben Gladwin hauled Swindon back into contention. Chairman Lee Power was taking 90 minutes off from his search for a new manager to run the team again. The Robins beaten by Oldham in his first game. But this time they showed all the fighting spirit any boss could want. Aaron Martin's wrestling match with Nicky Ajose handed Swindon their reward, Ajose himself salvaging a point to send Coventry home furious about the late capitulation.
Furious, Sam, is that the right word to sum it up?
I think furious is a bit harsh. Disappointed. 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go, you'd expect to see the game out, certainly. And for 80 minutes, we were very good. And for 10 minutes, a little bit naive, maybe.
Yeah, so as you say, 2 goals up against a team that's near the bottom of the league. With 5 minutes to go, you're leading, and you let it slip. We come away with a point. How does that happen?
You've made it worse, 5 minutes to go. Yeah, fair play to Swindon. They're down the bottom, but they're a really good side. They really try and play football, tactically very good. I was obviously there on loan last year, so I know a lot of the players, and they're a really, really good side. They shouldn't be where they are. They've sold a lot of players, but credit to them. They pushed on a little bit last time. We dropped deep and just made a few simple errors, and that results in drawing the game.
Having made it worse, I'm going to try and make it a bit better now, because you are still going well as a club. You're still in the playoff places, and there's a really good run of results. And bringing in the likes of Joe Cole, I mean, how much has Tony Mowbray got to do with attracting players like Joe Cole, like yourself, to the club? I
think the gaffer needs to take huge credit. I think Joe approached us. He's seen us play. He wanted to come and enjoy football, and we play football the right way. And he came and said, listen, I'd like to come and play football for you. I just want to play and enjoy football, and we do that. But not only the gaffer, it's the whole club. You know, the fan base, you know, people from the top, but we're a club that can go and do something, and for Joe Cole to want to come and play for Coventry in League One says a lot about the club.
Absolutely. Glenn Hoddle tweeted earlier in the week saying it's great that he doesn't just want to sit on a Premier League bench. He's still hungry to play football and not just to sit around at a Premier League club doing nothing. So he's come to Coventry, but you're in a similar position from where you were with Wolves and trying to get promotion from League One. Are there similarities, do you think, between this squad?
There's similarities in terms of, I think, Coventry's underachieved for the last 5-6 years. There's a club with, I think they got 30,000 for a couple of times when they went back to the Rico last year. And Wolves are the same, a big club with big fan base should be doing a lot better than what we are and what the club has been for the last 5 or 6 years. So I think the manager needs to take huge credit in turning things around this season, and hopefully we're on an upward trend.
Very steady answer, but it sounds like good times ahead for Coventry.
Well, for Swindon fans concerned about their new manager, the chairman, Lee Power, has ruled himself out long-term, which is handy as his tax status only allows him to spend 93 days in the country anyway. The clear favourites is, as you can see, Martin Ling. Luke Williams, the current number 2, is also linked, as is Gus Poyet. We move next up to the top of the division, and Gillingham, who currently have the best home form in the country. Sam and Coventry face them in the next month, but today they took on Southend.
Gillingham's start to the season may have surprised their manager, but Southend were well briefed, and they had their own decidedly decent run of 5 wins in 7 games to protect. Steve McLaughlin's lob was a test for Edinburgh's side, who'd come from behind in midweek to win with 10 men. And with a minute remaining, the skipper came off the bench to snatch a point. We may never know if Doug Loft's conversion was intentional, but the Gills are still looking down on everyone else in League One.
Those Burton fans concerned about their recent mini-slump must have felt better about life when Port Vale were reduced to 10 men. Uche Ikpeazu receiving his marching orders for a dive, which also brought a second yellow card. And try as he might, he couldn't talk his way out of that one. But Burton couldn't capitalise. In fact, they found themselves in the same predicament with 10 minutes to go when Robbie Weir departed with a straight red, albeit in very different circumstances. However, 10v10 promptly brought the best out of Burton, and they ended their barren run with a first goal in almost 400 minutes of football. Tommy Naylor putting his head in where it hurts. A touch of class sealed the home side's first win since the start of the month, courtesy of Nasser El Kiyati, who teased the Vale defence before tapping in his fourth of the season. Burton are back in business.
Bradford came into this game on the back of 3 victories. Wigan have won their last 2, and they took the lead when just a minute after coming off the bench, Donald Love gave Michael Jacobs the chance to not only put Wigan in front, but then stretch those thigh muscles. Wigan haven't won at Valley Parade since 1983, and Phil Parkinson's side were level when James Hansen headed home a Tony McMahon corner. Just a point for Wigan, but it does move them into the playoff places.
Having slipped quietly into the promotion picture with just 1 defeat in their last 8, it looked like business as usual for Sheffield United as Che Adams did everything but score. But turning pressure into points away from home is something Millwall have specialised in this season. Just 1 defeat in their last 8 on their travels is a formidable record, and they were at it again, even though Aidan O'Brien didn't know too much about that. The home side responded though and finally clawed their way back onto level terms, thanks to a cool finish from Jose Baxter. But those home fans expecting a grandstand Blades finish went home disappointed. Instead, the points headed down the M1 as O'Brien again caused chaos, and although goalkeeper Mark Howard knew what he was going to do, he couldn't stop him, to leave Millwall on the fringe of the playoffs.
Walsall's failure to trim the Gills' lead doesn't begin to tell the story of a remarkable afternoon in Essex, which began exactly as the Saddlers would have hoped. Romain Sawyer's 5th league goal of the season put them in front. And 20 minutes later, Walsall's unbeaten away record for the season looked safe and sound when Milan Lalkovic's shot was deflected past Jamie Jones. Colchester's midweek win over Port Vale was definitely of the much-needed variety after 3 straight defeats, and they got back into this game just after half-time. Darren Ambrose found George Moncur, who found the top corner. That was just the 3rd goal Walsall had conceded on their impressive travels, but number 4 arrived just 3 minutes later. Ambrose again with more than enough space and time, and Marvin Sordell followed his winner on Tuesday with the equaliser here. But Walsall are out of the losing habit, and they responded quickly. George Evans had launched his loan spell from Manchester City with a goal in midweek, and the 20-year-old struck again here, teed up by Adam Chambers. Still, the goals kept coming, with no decline in the either. Back again. And with 11 minutes remaining, the home side led for the first time in the game. Another delivery from the right, this time by Callum Harriott, and Ambrose was waiting. As we entered 6 minutes of stoppage time, Colchester were all set for a very good week, but they had to settle for steady progress instead, thanks to James O'Connor's 1st league goal of the season. A win would have taken Walsall top. In the circumstances, they'll be happy enough with a point.
We have, Sam Rickett, seen some of the best sides in that division there. Who's the best team you've played so far this year?
Having yet to play Gillingham, who are setting the pace in the league, I'd probably say Wigan. We played them first game of the season. I think they're a tactically very good side, got some very good players. I think they're starting to hit a run of results now. We did beat them 2-0, but I think they're a fairly decent side, yeah. Yeah,
seem to be finding their feet a little bit. Plenty more from Sam to come. We'll have more goals as well, more action from League One when we return. Before that, though, here's your chance this week to enter our competition. We have a bundle of brilliant gadgets to give away and a chance for you and your mates to watch your Sky Bet Football League team. Stay connected to all the latest league results, fixtures and news with an Apple iPad Mini 3, a Microsoft Lumia Windows Phone, an LG 42-inch HD LED TV, plus a Sony PS4 and the new FIFA 16 game, all courtesy of Breathe Sport. So, to be in with a chance of winning this awesome bundle, all you have to do is text GOAL to 65515 or post your name and phone number to Goal 6, PO Box 7557, Derby, DE1 0NP. Entrance must be 18 or over, dates subject to availability. Text costs £1.50 plus one message at standard network rate. Lines close at midday on the date shown on screen and 3 days later for postal entries. For rules, go to channel5.com/win. Good luck. Welcome back to Football League tonight on Channel 5. You are most welcome. We're on League One at the moment. We did have a few concerns about Blackpool earlier in the season. Neil McDonald, though, has really turned things around there at the moment. Adam, you were watching them today playing Crewe.
Well, they're playing against a Crewe side that are struggling for confidence, and Steve Davis's side. I thought they started pretty well today and they had good opportunities. And this is the start for them. It's Brad Inman that went out wide and they had good possession, had 57% of possession today, so it shows how well they did play. And Blackpool never really cleared it, and when it fell to Brad Inman, it made a good save from Doyle. And for Neil McDonald, that wasn't really the start that they would have wanted. And this was the first goal. You just watch Brad Inman here in a minute, the number 10, just switches off. Yeah, this is the goal now. You just watch Brad Inman, the number 10. He just switches off at the bottom of the screen. You come in there, and then Hayden White just makes the most of it, and it just takes the biggest deflection off James Jones. And I'd probably say that goal was against the runner plate. And again, another individual error. Chris Atkinson with the foul on David Norris. And
as cast iron as they come.
Stonewall, certain Stonewall penalty. And Jack Redshaw stepped up and confidently put it away. And to think that the start that Blackpool had this season, the way that the fans have had to deal with the off-field activities of the chairman and everything else like that, Neil McDonald takes a huge amount of credit for how he's turned this club around.
Well, they have now won as many games as they did in the entirety of last season. Let's hear then from the Blackpool manager.
We had to up the tempo and we had to move the ball on quicker as well, and we had to try and find Jack, who was I thought one of our better players, who found the space and can turn, and that puts us on the front foot. And it's great for him to score another goal, and it's great for another win. And more pleasingly, more than anything, I suppose, is another clean sheet, which is great.
Well, that's 5 unbeaten for Blackpool now, and Bury's 10-game unbeaten run came to an end at Bradford on Tuesday. So they tried to start another one today away at Shrewsbury.
Tuesday's defeat at Valley Parade was Bury's first away from home since January, but the chance to start another hot streak on the road never really materialised because they couldn't handle Shrewsbury's in-form striker. Sully Kaikai's shot against the post proved to be a sighter for his next attempt just 4 minutes later, which delivered his 4th goal in as many games. The striker was forced off by injury at half-time, and Bury's best chance to prevent a 10-match unbeaten run being followed by a 2-match slump fell to Danny Mayer, but he could find no way through the mashed Shrewsbury ranks. And after 6 defeats in their previous 8 games, the hosts sealed the win they deserved in some style. Jean-Louis Akpa-Akpro had come on for Kaikai at the break, and his cross led to Abu Ogogo's first goal for the club, which will take some beating. This week, at least, Bury didn't.
It's now 6 draws in 8 under David Dunn at Oldham, although in truth it might have been worse at Spotland. Luis Alessandra in the right place, but the ball somewhere else. The visitors also rode their luck when Ian Henderson's header was kept out by a combination of keeper David Cornell and the post. It was one of those afternoons.
Scunthorpe's midweek defeat by leaders Gillingham was the only blip on a recent good run, but they needed a helping hand to get back to winning ways. They actually got 2. Dan Jones's clumsy challenge on Gary McSheffrey, which led to a 55th minute penalty. And then referee Darren England's decision to send the defender off. Jones dumbfounded, but Paddy Madden cool as you like for his 9th goal of the season. But the Iron needed another to make sure, and it arrived 7 minutes later from McSheffrey, whose busy career included a spell at Chesterfield. Clearly no room for sentiment with that finish. And with 12 minutes left, a little deflection helped Madden enter double figures for the campaign in all competitions and become League One's leading scorer, as Scunthorpe made it 4 wins in 5. Darren Ferguson's second game as Doncaster manager took him back to the club he left for the second time last February, and the homecoming started to turn sour after just 9 minutes. Gabriel Zakuani had limited opportunities when Ferguson was in charge, but after heading Posh in front, he almost made his point again very quickly. But Peterborough's second soon arrived from another player who didn't really flourish under the former manager. Erhan Öztürk was described as a wizard this week by new boss Graham Westley, and this might be why. The Turk's second goal of the week left Ferguson with some regrouping to do after half-time, which was all wasted within a minute of the restart. Callum Elder scoring his first Football League goal at the second attempt, with an inadvertent assist from the face of Doncaster's Andy Butler. Ferguson's tenure at Rovers had begun with a win at Shrewsbury on Tuesday, but he'd already crashed right back to earth by the time Connor Washington had ensured that Posh are the highest scorers in the division. After a 4-0 win over Burton and a 3-0 defeat at Sheffield United, Fleetwood were probably in the mood for a tamer affair, certainly once Jamie Proctor had pounced on some defensive dawdling to fire them in front. The only other moment of quality on show at Oakwell was Alfie Mawson's free kick for Barnsley, but Chris Maxwell ensured Fleetwood's escape from the bottom four.
Right, let's take a look at the table. Gillingham, of course, stayed 2 points clear at the top after grabbing that late equaliser against Southend. Walsall stay in second after an 8-goal thriller with Colchester. They're above Burton only on goal difference after the Brewers picked up their first win in 4 against Port Vale. Coventry's draw with Swindon sees them stay in 4th. Wigan, Sheffield United and Bury all just a point behind them. At the bottom, well, it's Crewe who stay right at the foot of the table. They lost to Blackpool and they're now 3 points adrift of Swindon, who took a point against Coventry. Defeats for Doncaster and Barnsley means that they drop into the relegation zone. They've now traded places with Fleetwood and with Blackpool. Well, we saw Coventry there in the playoff places. Sam Ricketts, of course, is our guest today. Is that what you're aiming for, a playoff place at the end of the season, or automatic promotion?
We're aiming for promotion. I think the top 2 is within our reach. I think we've had a good start to the season. There's still plenty we can improve on. We know that, and we keep trying to get better. But 14 games in, I think we probably would have taken that start at the start of the season. Plenty to go, and still plenty to improve on. So we'll aim for the top 2. And listen, the playoffs would still be a good achievement, but ultimately it's promotion we want. You
talked about the other challenges in terms of having played against them. But who do you think? I mean, all told, you know, you look at Gillingham, who you haven't played yet. Who are the main contenders?
There's some really good sides. Gillingham obviously are playing really well. We've played Walsall, who always a good side in this league. You know, and then you're expecting the likes of Sheffield United to come through, Wigan to come through, Burton. You know, they've got that consistency, the enthusiasm from getting promoted last year. You know, it's going to be a tough league. I think it's going to be very tight right till the end. I don't think. Normally in this league, 1 or 2 teams pull away, maybe 3. I don't see that happening this year. I think it's going to be really tight till the end of the season. Which is going to be nerve-wracking for the players and the managers, but great to watch.
Right, time for another very swift break. We will be looking at the top of League 2 and bringing you the most entertaining side in the country when we return.
Hello, welcome back to Football League Tonight. Adam Virgo is with us, of course, to start our look at the goals from League 2, and in particular Plymouth, who had a trip to Luton today. And Plymouth have started the season brilliantly. How did they get on today?
So their fans keep telling me on Twitter. They did really, really well today, and they got off to the perfect start. And you just see the double bounce before the cross comes in. That tells me that there's something that's going to happen, and Luton switch off from it. And it's a wonderful ball in from Craig Tanner. And it's an even better header from Carl Mahoo. And that was a good start. Plymouth are really, really solid defensively.
I love you spotting a sneaky bit of code in there.
And it was a good reaction from John Steele's side. A great save from McCormack, and Josh McCoy equalised, but this was the major turning point. Ryan Hall, his petulance. You kick the ball away, you're already on a yellow card. You put your side in trouble, and it did change the game a little bit. And it was a certain yellow cards. You cannot do that. And the way that Plymouth have played this season, Derek Adams has done a wonderful job. He's come down. They lost to Wycombe last season in the playoffs. So the reaction from the players to really bounce on this season and start as well as they've done, you won't see a better goal in this in League 2. The run, the through ball. And Ryan Brunton, who I played with at Bristol Rovers, had a bad knee injury when I was down there, and it's really, really pleasing to see that he scored the goal. And When you've got the likes of Ruben Reid, Jake Jervis that scored goals this season as well, Ryan Brunt now is scoring a couple of goals, Josh Simpson, Gary Sawyers, they've got a good squad of players and they deserve to be top, and they're playing good football, but defensively they're strong, and that's what really, really matters.
I mean, as you're saying, and everything that you've said about the game suggests that Plymouth very much deserved to win that. However, John Still for Luton said everything went as against us. I mean, you can't really argue too much with the red card, but they could have had a penalty, Luton. What do you think it is? Apparently the assessor thought this was a penalty.
Well, he's almost caught it, and Ruddock with the cross in, and it's a stonewall penalty. Peter Hartley hitting his right hand, it's blatant, and it's a penalty, and I'm sure John Steele will feel aggrieved that his side hasn't been given the penalty, but just the way that Luton's luck's going at the minute, it's not really getting those kind of
No, their
decisions.
luck is certainly not going their way. However, Plymouth are firing on all cylinders, George.
Yeah, he didn't just catch that, he unlaced it, I think. Now, if Portsmouth could win at home, I reckon they'd be running away with things in League Two. As it is, well, they were second heading into this weekend and took on fourth-place Mansfield today.
The problem for Pompey is that they're better away from home. Only one win at Fratton Park since August, and very few chances created against the Stags, who held on for a point. Brian Jensen's save from Ben Davis was as close as we came to a goal.
Oxford came into this game having won all but one of their last 6 games. So business as usual when Jordan Graham, hoping to extend his loan from Wolves, provided Liam Sercombe with the chance to score his 6th this season. Barnet, in contrast, have had a poor run of late with 1 win in 5, but stand by for a dazzling 5 minutes from the Bees. Curtis Weston equalising and scoring his first goal since August. Just 3 minutes later, Barnet were in front. Jake Wright failing to clear at the back, and John Akinde was able to capitalise. That's his 6th goal this season. No time to draw breath at the Kassam Stadium. Barnet extending their lead. Weston involved again. Josh Clark putting the Bees within sight of their first win on the road since being promoted to the Football League. 5 minutes before half-time, Oxford top scorer Kemar Roof laid it on for Sercombe to score his 2nd of the day instead of a fight-back in the second half. Oxford have never lost to Barnet and had chance after chance to keep that record. Alex MacDonald and Roof failing to convert this time, and Michael Appleton's side fell to their first home defeat in the league, though they remain 3rd.
Morecambe's last 4 games have featured 23 goals, which makes them the most entertaining side to go and watch in the country. They average over 4 goals a game this season, and today they welcomed Leyton Orient to the Globe Arena.
This one wasn't quite the showstopper people were anticipating. The winning goal did have a touch of comedy about it. Orient's Jack Payne blocking Ryan Edwards' clearance and ending up on the score sheet. Were it not for the woodwork, the O's would have claimed an equally outrageous 2nd goal. Brad Pritchard almost catching out goalkeeper Barry Roach. For once, Morecambe's fans were shortchanged in terms of goals. Alex Sissak's save from Tom Barkhausen ensured Orient a first away win since August.
A desperate week off the pitch for Northampton, with the club facing possible liquidation, started badly on the pitch as Stephen Schumacher scored not only his 1st of the season, but the first goal ever for Stevenage at Sixfields. But Northampton are unbeaten in their last 4 league games at home, and they were level early in the second half. Good work from Sam Hoskins allowed Dominic Calvert-Lewin, on loan from Sheffield United, to score his 3rd goal in 5 days. Stevenage are yet to win away from home this season. They had been on an unbeaten run of late, but lost today when 2 minutes after coming off the bench, Alfie Potter scored the winner. Only goal difference now separates the Cobblers from the automatic promotion spots.
Ronnie Moore says Hartlepool are desperate for a home win. Times like that call for desperate measures. Hence Scott Harrison's goal line handball and subsequent red card. It didn't do Hartlepool much good, mind you. Their former midfielder Simon Walton slotted the penalty, and Crawley were on their way to a 3rd league win out of 4. The points were confirmed by Rhys Murphy, who's enjoying a good run in front of goal. His 5th of the campaign is also his 3rd in as many matches. Hartlepool pulled one back through Billy Painter, but it wasn't enough to avoid a 3rd defeat out of 4 at Victoria Park. Magnus Okuongai came closest to providing salvation.
Carlisle United were sporting a brand new red away kit for today's trip to Adams Park, but Luke Joyce only got to wear it for 25 minutes, sent off for a tackle on Sam Wood. A familiar feeling for the Cumbrians. They've had a man dismissed in their last 3 meetings with Wycombe. Carlisle haven't won away to Wycombe in the league since 1997, but Troy Archibald Henville headed them in front early in the second half. Holding on for victory one man down is tough enough without Gary Dicker losing possession, but Marcus Bean was unable to make it count. Wycombe started the season in promotion form, but have suffered 3 defeats in their last 3 league games. Deep into added time, Paul Hayes rescued a point for the Blues, and when you score on your first start after an Achilles injury, make sure you single out the physio for special thanks.
Exeter's Tom Nichols is another man enjoying a better week. Having made a goal-scoring return to the Grecian side on Wednesday, the young striker dispatched this pearler against Notts County. The Magpies felt that Isel McLeod had been fouled in the build-up to that goal. McLeod was also unlucky to be denied an equaliser. Instead, that honour fell to Liam Noble. He collected a 6th goal of the season from John Stead's knockdown. Alan Sheehan might have given County all 3 points. David Noble on the goal line, ensuring that the points were shared.
Well, there we are. We got there in the end, didn't we?
Right.
Time for another quick break,
Time
the final
for
break.
reflection.
And then we'll have the bottom of League Two. See you then.
Welcome back to Football League tonight, and we still have the bottom of League Two left to discuss. Lots of Yeovil fans have been in touch with us. They are so frustrated, Adam, with life after 2 consecutive relegations in very last place. Can you cheer them up with this game against Cambridge?
In one word, no.
Right. In more words, what happened?
Well, they just defended awfully in the first half, and that really summed up their start to the game by Alex Lacey. And it was after 4 minutes. This opportunity here, you had 4 opportunities to clear it. And it's sometimes comical, actually, watching it. And it's painful for me, being an ex-player, kind of watching this club now that really are going after the chairman, John Fry. And it's just been going from bad to worse all season. And I saw a lot of Luke Berry when he was going up in the National League, when they finished in the playoff. And he did that week in, week out. And he was a quality player. But they managed to get themselves back into it. And Ryan Bird took a wonderful touch over his shoulder. This technique to bring a ball down like that and finish, that's a quality finish. And listen, they got back into it second half. I'm sure Richard Money will maybe look at the goals that they conceded after going 3-0 up. This is Josh Sheehan just finishing it off. But it's dark times down there at Yeovil at the moment. And when I played there, it's a good club. And the people that run it, i.e. Darren Way, that I know, and Terry Skiverton as well, I feel for them at the moment. And the fans are great people as well, and I really hope that they can turn it around.
Yeah, another defeat for them today then against Cambridge, which means that they're looking at the results of teams around them, George.
Yes. And the pressure at the bottom has increased, actually, for Yeovil, with a slight upturn in fortunes for Newport under their new manager, John Sheridan. A vital win in midweek away at Wycombe, and today they travelled to Bristol Rovers.
As in midweek, it was an own goal that put Newport ahead at Bristol Rovers. Mediolito's cross guided past his own goalkeeper by Rovers' Tom Parks early on. But that lead lasted less than 2 minutes. Billy Bodin, whose dad Paul had 2 spells at Newport as a player, fired in an immediate equaliser. Fortune was to favour Newport again early in the second half. Rovers keeper Lee Nichols inexplicably losing control of the ball. Zach Ansett just couldn't keep a straight face. On loan from Charlton, that was Ansett's first goal for Newport. His second arrived 5 minutes later. Nothing lucky about this one. A screamer, which propelled Newport to back-to-back wins for the first time since February. The scoring was completed by 20-year-old Tommy O'Sullivan, on loan from Cardiff and recently named the Welsh Young Player of the Year. His first senior goal completed a very satisfactory afternoon for Newport. Their win was bad news for Dagenham and Redbridge, who were behind inside 2 minutes at Accrington. Seamus Keneally got Stanley off to a flyer before Matthew Pearson doubled their lead in first half stoppage time. Accrington had surrendered a 2-0 lead against Wimbledon in midweek, but there was no stopping them here. Josh Windass put the result beyond doubt shortly after the restart. The Daggers did enact some damage limitation. Jody Jones did most of the work as Nyron Nosworthy pulled one back. But a 9th game without victory sees Wayne Burnett's side go bottom of the Football League.
Wimbledon's fans have been clocking up the mileage this week, close to 1,000 in the space of 5 days. And we're thankful to desperate keeping from Scott Flinders as Adi Aziz put them in front after just quarter of an hour. York are without a win at home in the league since August, and this was a game to forget for both keepers. Ben Wilson failed to claim, and an acrobatic effort from Verdane Oliver, scoring for the 2nd game on the trot, and York were level. But both sides are presumably going to be in for defensive drills on Monday morning. This time York's back line, allowing Lyle Taylor to put Wimbledon in front. That's his 3rd goal this week. York boss Russ Wilcox has been under pressure, and it won't have been eased when George Frankham was left across for an unmarked Tom Elliott. Heading home his 1st goal this month, York remain 2 places above the relegation zone.
So here we are, Plymouth 4 points clear now at the top of the table thanks to that late winner at Luton. Portsmouth 2nd, Oxford 3rd, despite that home defeat against Barnet at the wrong end of the table. Dagenham and Redbridge dropped to bottom of the Football League. They're level on points with Yeovil. Newport out of the relegation zone after their 2nd win in a row.
Our thanks to Adam Virgo, as always, here on Football League tonight. And to Sam Ricketts, good luck for the rest of the season. And to Coventry for the remainder of the season. We'll be back next week on Football League Tonight. For now, though, bye-bye.
Good night.